Hello and welcome back to the Palmer Performance Workshop. This is part 3 of the Honda Fireblade track bike build. In this video we're going to do the main sort of strip down, start taking off all the other bits and pieces that we don't need, get the forks out, get them off to have the Öhlins fork kit fitted, and sort of have a look at some of the emission stuff and such like that we need to remove and bypass as part of turning it into a track bike. Stay tuned. First thing we're going to do is pull the fuel tank and airbox off so that we can get to everything under there. Normal sort of fuel tank connector where you kind of have to push a little clip and then it will pull off, and then the electrical connector. Honda airboxes have always had like a little heat shield mat over the top of them, so just taking that off. And then with the Honda electronics, there's a whole load of stuff that sits on top of the airbox. So the main ECU, all the connectors for the switch gears on the handlebars and such like. So they all need to be disconnected and unplugged, and then the wiring loom sort of pulled back out of the way before we can take the airbox lid off. Now we're just undoing the screws around the perimeter of the airbox lid. Once we've got all of them done, we can remove the airbox lid, disconnecting the upper fuel rail, and then we can start looking at removing the lower half of the airbox. That involves removing the velocity stacks or bell mouse, whatever you want to call them, disconnecting a few pipes and sensors. And you can see there the airboxes actually have a really big entry into them. So really good for a decent ram air system. Now we're just dropping the coolant out, ready to remove the radiator. So that it gives us the space to be able to remove the exhaust. Trickiest bit here is when you remove the pipes is trying not to spill a load of coolant all over your feet. Okay, so that's a large proportion of stuff off. With the radiator out of the way, we can now get to the exhaust. If I remember right, I just have to undo one of the oil pipes, try not to lose a load of oil everywhere, just to give us enough room to swing the standard system out the way. But as you can see, it's quite a nice set of headers for a standard exhaust. It probably goes somewhere towards why they make such good power even as a standard road bike. But whilst we're under here, you can see here, in a slightly different location to some of the other bikes that you've seen on the channel, this is the air injection system into the exhaust for emissions. Now you can get blanking plates like we've discussed before for some of these bikes, where you would unbolt these and put a blanking plate straight over. Actually, I've got a cylinder head off one of these engines here, so these are the blanking plates on that. But we won't do that. We'll just do the usual that we normally do and just put a couple of blanking caps on there. If we go into the top end, there's the actual solenoid valve that controls that. Now we can disconnect this and we can turn the fault off for it in the ECU when we flash it, so we'll lose that completely. And obviously we've blanked off the other end of that pipe on the airbox, just there. And then so the throttle body is quite an interesting setup on these. I have such a short intake that the throttle bodies are actually bolted directly to the cylinder head just with a rubber gasket rather than having conventional inlet manifolds. So they're quite cool. And what you'll notice is that's where the throttles are split. So if you did that on a normal 4-cylinder, push down on one of the butterflies, they would all move, but obviously on these the banks work independently. So moving on from there, under here we've got an Evap canister, which again is obviously that plugs into the air intake manifold in the fuel tank to take evaporative fumes from the fuel tank, but we'll lose that as well. There is a valve for that under there, but we can't turn the fault off for that, so we'll leave that plugged in and just turn it off. And that'll kind of do away with all this bit around here and these pipes and stuff. Obviously we've got lambdas to disconnect as well. We'll turn them off in the ECU flash, so we don't need to use them. And we'll tidy the wiring up out of the way. I think there's one around the back somewhere after the cat as well. Maybe. We'll find that in a bit. So yeah, let's get some of these bits blanked off. And here we go, there's another interesting one. So the main ECU sits on top of the airbox on this wiring here. And then it has another ECU, which is exactly the same shape and size as the main ECU. And that is what they added to control the split throttles. So I'm guessing that's what that stands for. Throttle by wire 2, I would assume. But yeah, ABS pump there. The hoses kind of run down here, and off around there, and then the other ones run down that side to the rear brake. So we've got a bit of stripping out and a few more things to do before we can get rid of that. But yeah, let's get the old camera set up and crack back on. So my trusty homemade 12-volt vacuum bleeder comes out. We can get the front brake system drained down, try and suck as much fluid out of those ABS lines as possible so that when we disconnect them and remove them, we don't make too much of a mess. And then just switching over to the other caliper as well, just to make sure we've got as much out of the system as we possibly can, leaving it to do its thing. And then with that front system drained, we can disconnect the standard hoses from the calipers. Just plug in the ends of the hoses with some spare bits of rubber hose there just to stop any drips coming out anywhere. And then we can remove the calipers themselves and think about removing the front wheel so that we can take the forks out and get them off to Darren at MCT to have the Öhlins fork kit put in. And with the wheel out of the way, we can then also remove the speed sensor, undo the clamps, drop the forks out. That's one. That's two. And we can move on to the next job. The next thing we've got to do is tackle those ABS hoses. So we're just removing the IMU, the inertia measurement unit, and the secondary ECU out of the way so we can access some stuff. Now I'm going to drain down the rear brake system, so I'm just taking the reservoir cap off, and I've got my vacuum pump on the go again. I've got a proper brake pipe spanner out to undo the hoses from the ABS unit. The ABS unit itself will need to stay in place, otherwise the wheel speed sensors and such like would not work. You can get bypass plugs for them, but I prefer to use the original unit. So I'm just feeding the rear lines out here. The front ones, the way they route is rather convoluted, and because we're not going to use them again, we'll probably end up just cutting them just so we can get them out easily. Now whilst I'm here, I'm going to remove the exhaust servo. I've disconnected the cables down low, which gives me enough slack to be able to disconnect them up top, and then I can literally just pull the cables out, just like that. And then we can crack on with those front hoses. So just undoing them from the pump there, and then we've got some big snips out just to snip them, and then we can jimmy them out down the side. With that done, we can remove the exhaust silencer and start thinking about getting those headers off. So we're just undoing the lower mounts for the oil cooler there so we can get that out of the way. We're disconnecting the lambda sensors from the front and the rear and the middle mount on the system, and then just undoing all the manifold nuts. I've just left one on there to hold it on whilst I undo the oil hose from one side of the oil cooler, and as you can see, I'm just rotate it out of the way. I've got a couple of little rubber bands in there to stop oil dribbling out, and there we go. And for the meantime, I'm just going to connect that back up just whilst we're sorting out other jobs before we put the new exhaust on. So we're at a point now where the bike's pretty much fairly well stripped down. Obviously the forks are out of it. Got tools and stuff everywhere at the moment, but next thing really, we're going to concentrate on the rear end. So we're going to take this chain and sprockets off. Obviously we've got the 520 race stuff to go on and slightly different gearing. So I've got the angle grinder out just to grind the soft link off there. We'll get the chain disconnected and the sprockets off. We'll get the rear wheel out. Obviously we disconnected the standard brake line. We can get that caliper bracket on at the same time whilst the wheel's out. So just grinding off the heads of the rivet link on the chain, and then I'll use my little DID chain tool to push the pin out. The whale tools are quite good for knocking pins out, but the sort of DID tool is my go-to for pretty much everything. Now move to the other side, we're taking the nut off, and that's the Spider captive caliper bracket. We're just testing that out there. Got the longer bolt in. Does a really nice job of holding the caliper in place. And then we need to move on to fitting the new rear sets, mainly so that we can put the axle stands or the peg stands under them so that we can think about taking the rear shock out. And here I'm just showing you, this is the standard rear brake master cylinder. I'm sorry it's a bit out of shot, but I'm just removing the original inlet from the reservoir because that is going to be replaced by a racetorx junction valve, which you can kind of just see in the corner of the shock there. New O-ring, the racetorx adapter, and the feed from the front brake will go into that, which then means you can retain your foot brake as well as using your front brake. And then obviously it uses the reservoir up on the front brake to fill the system. So there we go, just getting that all on. Over around to the left hand side, just taking off the side stand bracket, putting the new bracket on which carries the gear lever. Just checking all the nuts and bolts on the rear sets are tight. Generally they come sort of loosely assembled, so you do need to check everything and use a bit of Loctite, medium strength where necessary. Getting the pegs on, lifting them up, heel plate. And then we just got to set up the gear lever. Obviously important that the lever arm and everything is perpendicular to the rod to make sure the action works how it should. And we're just sort of setting the height there roughly where we think it should be. Obviously the customer can adjust that once they've ridden it. Okay, rear set's on. The main reason obviously I've put them on is so I can get the peg stands on it. Now they're on it, we'll start taking the shock out. So one bolt up there, and then we'll get under the linkage here, undo that one, and then undo that one, and see which way we have to go to pull the shock out. And here we go, so I'm just going to undo the top bolt first, and then I can get underneath, undo the rearmost linkage bolt so I can swing that part, or the dog bones if you like, swing them down out of the way so I can then get to the bottom shock bolt. And then just to give us a little bit more room, I'm actually removing the whole linkage. And then on these bikes, it's a bit of a pain. I've got to undo the rear subframe so I can kind of lift that up out of the way enough to squeeze the shock out the top, just like that. So as you would have seen, I ended up having to sort of undo the rear subframe and lift that up a bit to be able to squeeze the shock out. Like I said, don't work on these that often, and certainly the last one I took the shock out of was an RRR, and that was just about doable without messing around with the subframe. So bit of a pain really that, if you want to make any quick changes to take the shock out. It's not the easiest of jobs. But anyway, we've just left the shock up on the side for the time being. We're actually putting some data logging on this bike, so I just need to wait for the potentiometer for the rear shock to arrive and sort out some brackets for that. One last little thing, because we're using the road wiring loom on this particular build, we've got to bypass the side stand switch. So that is literally what that is. Just join the two wires together so that the ECU thinks the side stands up the whole time. The other two plugs on this bit of wiring here, they are for the standard primary lambda sensors which sit in the headers. We'll turn them off in the Woolwich software. So that whole bunch of wiring which normally runs down there and sits down there, we'll just tuck that up. We can just tuck that up under the tank there. We'll tie that up under there out of the way. So one less thing to worry about. That's obviously the overflow tube for the header tank. So yeah, getting there. Fairly well stripped out at the moment. Can't do a whole load more until the forks come back. Obviously we can get the exhaust fitted. I can get the brake discs swapped over for the Motormaster ones. I've already swapped the rear sprocket for the Renthal one. And get the rear wheel in and sort out the chain length and stuff. And we won't be too far off, ready for it to go to the dyno. Anyway, I think we'll call that a day for this week's video. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.